Hey, welcome back to another lab. And today we're going to explore, or continue, I should say, on our VM series of labs. And today we're going to explore the fascinating world of VM images. So, some of the steps we're going to go through and learn is running sysprep and generalize the VM, create a custom image, create a VM from the custom image we just created in step 2, and of course then clean up all of our work. As a bonus, we're going to find out how, for example, let's say you create a VM in Azure and you forgot what the username was, so you can't log in. So we're going to find out how you can rediscover what the username was. And of course, the other scenario. Let's say you know the username, but you forgot the password. So we're going to learn how to reset a password on an admin account of VM that you forgot. All right. For today's lab, I create our familiar resource group, speedrg. And if you've been following the previous labs, these lists of resources here should look pretty familiar. To create those, I ran a single PowerShell script. All I had to do was run. I had to create the resource group, and then I ran these 2 lines, and that created the VM and all those resources you see. I will include these 2 lines in the description of this lab. So in case you don't have them from previous labs, here they are. All right, so the bonus. Let's do the bonus first. And that scenario is, what do you do? Let's pretend I forgot the name of an admin user of this VM, and I want to RDP to the server. Well, first thing it asks me for is a username. I forgot what I called it. So what can I do? Well, go to the VM, wait a little while for everything to come up, and the answer lies somewhere in the settings blade. I'll give you maybe 30 seconds to think about, well, maybe 15, about which one it can be. Obviously, you could probably cross out some locks. Hopefully you know what those are. If not, they'll be coming up in a lab coming soon. Security, that's a possibility, right? Could maybe not. Size, that's the size of the VM. Disk, that's adding a disk. Networking, no. All right, ready for the answer? If you said security, you're not correct. If you know anything about Azure resource templates, you probably would have guessed export template, and that would have been correct. So if I click on here, and we'll have a whole bunch of series of labs on Azure resource templates someday. And here you can find, this is called a Azure resource template. It's a little crude, and you'll find out why, again, in a lab coming up. But what we're going to find out, let's stay focused and look for our username. And here we go. Admin username was speed. And that is correct. All right, so we now know what it is. And now let's do the scenario of what is, I know what the username is, but what is the password? And I can't log into the VM to change the password. So this one you could probably find on your own. You know, if you just went down line by line, metrics, no, logs, no, connection monitor, and you might go there and check it out if you weren't really aware what connection monitor was. Boot diagnostics, no. Performance diagnostics, no. Oh, Look at that. What do you think? Yes. That's your golden ticket. I'm not going to reset the password because I know what it is. But you would just type in the username, which you now know, and what you want the password to be. So that's our bonus. Hope you enjoyed that bonus. But now, what are we going to do? Well, let's look at our checklist. And did you know that 80% of wealthy people create a list of things to do, or a checklist, while only 9% of poor people do? That's from Dave Ramsey. Yes. Anyway, here we go. First we got to do, whoopsie daisy. First we have to do is run sysprep. Yes. You might be saying to yourself, sysprep? What in the world is that? Well, in general, it's a way to, well, let's just see what this article has to say about it. Sysprep is a tool designed for corporate system administrators, OEMs who need to deploy Windows XP. Obviously, it's a data article. It could be used for anything. But here's the key. Sysprep assigns a unique SID to each destination computer. Unique. The first time computer restarted. So your computer will have a unique SID, which obviously you need to join domain. So sysprep configures the OS to use Windows Welcome or Mini Setup. Sysprep is a valuable utility even if you don't use for disk duplication. But basically, we really want to know just this first part. It basically takes the machine, removes the SID, and gives the machine a unique SID. Now the value here is, let's say you create a machine and you create a VM to use for Docker. And now you want to keep that golden image, so when you start doing labs or testing the machine and you start downloading containers and start doing stuff and you want to revert back, you could just create the image again. That didn't make a lot of sense yet. It will once we go through the lab. But for now, just know that sysprep, you need to run it on the computer to get a unique SID. So, all right. Okay, next I need to connect to the machine I'm going to create an image of. So I'm going to use SpeedVM. I'm just going to do an RTP connection to the VM. Now that I know the username and password, that should be cake. Alright, I'm going to pause while the VM catches up. Okay, my VM is loaded, and the first thing I need to do is run sysprep. So I'm going to open up command prompt as admin. Put that over to the middle here. Whoops. Let's see if I could. I have a lot of troubles here. I'm going to try to increase my fonts. A little easier to read. There we go. And I'm going to go to the Windows System 32 and keep going to the sysprep folder. And it's automatically installed on every VM, so I didn't do any. I did not install it. And run sysprep, and we'll get a dialog box. And you want to make sure that it says out of box experience. And we want to click, you probably guessed it, check mark generalize, because that's the whole thing you want to do. And for shutdown, we want to shut down. We don't want to reboot. And we'll say OK. So you'll see this go on for a while. I'm, of course, going to pause the video and return when my VM has shut down. All right, it looks like my VM shut down because I just received this message. So I'll say OK to that. And we're going to use PowerShell the rest of the way. So let's bring up my PowerShell window. And continuing with our lab, we're on a new lab. This is our image lab. So let's go ahead with the first command. First thing we need to do is stop the VM. So we'll say stop AZVM resource group. And my resource group is called speedrg. If you use my scripts, it's also called that. Name of the VM, speedvm1, and force it. So this will stop the VM. Okay, command just finished, and that's the feedback that you should see just about. I imagine your date's going to be different. But anyway, let's move on to the next step. Now we want to generalize the VM. So we will do the set AZ VM commands. Whoops, give it a resource group. And of course, again, it's speedrg. Name is speedvm1. And now we use a generlize command. Let's run this command. And excellent. Making good progress. Okay, the next step is to image the VM. That requires 3 sub-steps. First we're going to do is we're going to run this out, create the image. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's our goal, is to create the image. What we want to do now is get the VM. So to do that, we're going to define a variable, and we'll be so creative and call it VM. And say the VM, actually we're going to do this a little backwards. So we're actually going to say get AZVM. And we're doing it this way so we get the drop down. So we don't have to type so much. Name, speedvm, resource group, speedrg. And now we're going to go back to our get and assign it a variable. This way, the reason we did that was so we can use IntelliSense to help us write the command. So now this is going to get the VM for us and store it to a variable. Now we're not going to run that yet. We're actually going to give the command to create the image configuration. Now I'm approaching 15 minutes, so I'm going to create another part 2 for this lab.